It was here at the magnificent Sydney Cricket Ground that embracement of Norm Provan and Arthur Summons was captured by John O'Grady, the photographer, and then it went on to become the symbol of Rugby League, the Winfield Cup, as the Western Suburbs Magpies take the field for their round 16 encounter against their arch rivals of the 50s and 60s, the St George Dragons. Paul Langmack is captain of Western Suburbs today. There is their side, coached by one of the great Magpies, Tommy Raudonikis. Great scenes here at the cricket ground. The crowd introduced to the champions of the past. Gasnier, Provan, Raper. St George welcomed onto the ground by their past champions. It is a must-win game for them, the way I see it. They can't afford to lose another match. Here they are, gracing the Sydney Cricket Ground turf for the first time against the Magpies since 1987. Graham Bradley captains today with Mark Coyne out injured. In fact, their team cut about. Anthony Cabry and Troy Stone come into the forwards.
Mark Horrow, Jim Tanaran, Brett Stewart, Jerry Messer, and Glenn Green make up the forwards. The St George side, fullbacks Rod Maiden, wingers Nick Zisti and Jason Donnelly, Mark Bell and Graham Bradley in the centres. Bradley will captain the side. Anthony Mundy and Noel Goldfield, the halfbacks. Damien McGarry, Gordon Tallis, and Troy Stone, number 21 in the second row. Number 31, Anthony Carberry in the front row. Nathan Brown and Tony...
David Manson is the man in charge.
This afternoon, Mr. David Manson.
Beautiful day here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. The ground now surrounded by grandstands. Those famous landmark hills at both ends, no longer evident. Western Suburbs will be guarding the Paddington end. So St George it is to start as they run away from the Randwick end. And Smith it is for Western Suburbs, who gets first touch of the football. Brings it back to 28 metres out and is injured, unable to play the ball. First tackle of the game, a problem for Western Suburbs. Manson moving the point of the play the ball. And Georgialis it is who takes that role, and the ex-Kiwi representative Mark Horrow now plays it in the centre of the ground. Western Suburbs forced back under the strength of that tackle as they come now for their captain Paul Langmack. And Langmack able to unload. Mesher, the hooker, there in support. And a penalty goes to Western Suburbs. A little bit of a fracas. They come from both sides. Doubt that anybody has been injured at all. There's been no punches thrown, really.
Well, it's an emotional day here at the cricket ground, and emotions running high in that early encounter. Jerry Mesher ducking under a tackle. You'll see a player come in there in jersey number 12 for St George, Gordon Tallis, a little bit late. Jim Sedaris objected to the late tackle. Unfortunately, the players came in and nothing really resulted. And unbelievably, Paul Smith is still down hurt as Annie Priddle goes to get a finger taped. Smith hurt in the first tackle of the match, only just getting to his feet now.
So the Magpies will take the kick and finding touch on the members' side of the ground. Just a couple of metres. As Mesher comes across to take the tap. West's on 18 points. St George on 12. The Magpies equal 5th in the competition. St George down equal 13th. I note that Billy Dunn was in the run-on side for the Magpies. He's taken the place of Justin Dooley. as they go across the ground to the left, and Georgialis supplies for Langmack to give it, and that is Pearson. Just beyond the 20-metre line. Good ball movement by the Magpies. That's the centre, Paul Bell. 15 metres away from the line. Mesha comes across and gives it on. Langmack is with it, turns it in. Dunn puts on a fin, but he's closed down over the top by McGarry. They keep the wrap up to the right. Georgialis rolls it into the very deep in goal. It'll be a 20-metre tap to restart, but players down injured from both sides.
Yes, a collision there. And the St George player in some difficulty is Anthony Cabry. That was the kicker of the ball, Steve Georgialis, took a pretty heavy knock. And it was a good set of 6 from the Magpies. They opened up their opposition a couple of times. There's the strong hit, and the tackler has come off the worst for wear.
Georgialis is okay as he jogs back into his position, but Anthony Cabry knocked unconscious by the impact. One of the replacements in the St George side. And I doubt that he'll be allowed to continue. He's being aided by one of the trainers and barely able to walk.
They're still in all sorts of difficulty out there, Anthony Cabry. They will bring Colin Sakura to the sideline. As Tallis tackled 29 out from his own line. Mundine out of dummy half picks up 3 or 4 metres before he's cleaned up by Jim Sedaris.
So the Saints now with their first use of the football. A slap across the face from Mesha. That has been ruled as high. And Manson it is, talking to Cherry Mesha in the company of Paul Langmack. It was really nothing. He slapped him across the face.
In fact, I don't even think it was up around the face. I think he got him around the shoulders. But anything high these days are penalised.
It's one of the problems for the little men in the game today. And Cherry Mesha, of course, playing in the hooking role, is in the middle of battle more than most small players. They have to leave the ground to shut the ball down. This is McGarry.
As we pointed out, a lot of St George players have pulled out of this side. That's Priddle tackled, gets a pass away. If they are to prove successful in this game, I think it falls onto 3 main shoulders. Noel Goldthorpe, the half, Mundine, the 5'8", and Gordon Tallis in the pack need big games.
There's Tallis now working back to the left of the ground. In the centre of the park as Brown, a dummy half, sends Troy Stone ahead, and they're good yards. It's carried him just outside the 30-metre line. They work on a fairly narrow corridor down the blind side, trying to outnumber the Magpies. And on the far side of the ground, the ball played by Donnelly. Goldthorpe puts it down. It's a knock-on. It'll be a turnover. That was the last tackle. Goldthorpe, a former Magpie himself, looking for a big game, undoubtedly, in this match today. So now, Langmack it was who got it back, and Mesha is there. So the weather today very favourable for this promotion. Sedaris last played here in 1987. As I pointed out, the teams came together in 4 grand finals during the 11-year reign of St George. The Western Suburbs were never able to do the lap of honour. This match, of course, commemorating the 63 grand final as heavy body contact again. And the ball comes out and goes forward, and Manson will be obliged to put another scrum down.
Looked very good when they moved the football, Western Suburbs side, because they do have good options. Many of those include Paul Langmack. That pass there didn't need to be thrown. The tackle had been completed.
The Dragons come up with the ball, and this is Donnelly. And on the left wing for St George as Goldthorpe tries to get away from Sedaris. He flicks the pass out for Mark Bell, but he was always under pressure. And Goldthorpe again finds himself at dummy half, and this is Sakuru, who has found himself in this match more quickly than ever he dreamt, with Anthony Cabry heavily concussed and off the field now. I doubt he'll be back. Mundine for Brown, and then here's Bradley. Bradley's got one to beat. He can't beat that player. He looks around for support. He's still able to get it away. Tallis leaps into the air and then is taken.
Oh, that is a bomb try. He had plenty of support. Last tackle now. Brown out of dummy half to Priddle. Pass has been ruled forward, and deliberately so. Graham Bradley, if he'd have looked to his left, had three players. You'll see here on the replay, he ran beautifully into the hole, and there are the three players looming up on the outside, all unmarked, all would have scored.
The action here at the Sydney Cricket Ground today, proudly brought to you by the matchday sponsor.
That's the pass that Manson has deemed as deliberately forward. And Paul Smith has come off now, and Tony Wall has gone on. And this is him with the ball now. Former Parramatta player. With the Magpies now through Billy Dunn. 41 metres out from their own line. Brent Stewart not in this side today, the Kiwi international, as Glenn Grief plays it. And Georgialis shows it one way, then tries to go through the gap with the support of Andrew Leeds. Now Sidaris, a dummy half. He crosses the 40-metre line. He puts in the kick. He gets the regather, but he couldn't find support. 5 tackles gone as it comes away. Leeds goes high and across. They're all onside. The bouncer, Zisti, the St George winger. He'll never take a bomb as good as that again.
Oh, that was a great take. The ball was swirling around. He got lost underneath it, but still managed to take it under enormous pressure. The other winger now, Donnelly, getting involved. Never took his eyes off it, had to reach for it. McGuinness all over him. Tremendous take.
Brown, just beyond the 30-metre line. Mundine, a dummy half. They cut out Tallis and go across for Goldthorpe. And he keeps it relatively low. And he finds the line just down on the Western Suburbs 30-metre line. So something like 9 minutes of the match gone and no score. As we welcome people across the Tasman and across Australia to our telecast. St George and Western Suburbs doing battle at the former headquarters of the game, the Sydney Cricket Ground. And Andrew Leeds is able to stand and offload. And the Magpies now, McGuinness getting the pass inside, and that is Willis. Pearson. Right on the halfway line they are now. As they go into their third tackle on this set, and here's McGuinness trying to slice through. He's going to have to be watched. He's one of the more potent Western Suburbs weapons. Grief! Glenn Grief, 15 out from the St George line. Mesher works the blind. Langmack turns it in. McGuinness rolls it along the ground, and Bell, Mark Bell, is there and takes the ball and the tackle.
Both sides have been opened up in defence much too often so early in the game. McGuinness causing all sorts of problems. This was the last tackle. Pretty good take from Mark Bell, who knew that the kick would be coming through. The find of the season for Western Suburbs, and they've had a few of them, is undoubtedly Glenn Grief. He had a great season, represented this year. He'll need to even lift his work rate a little bit more. His partner in crime, Brent Stewart, not in this match. So some more responsibility on young shoulders.
Brown kicking. There's a bit of a push and shove goes on in the back. Bradley and Billy Dunn, they decide to go on with it as the ball goes into touch. Well, they were pushing and shoving for half an hour. Now they've been throwing punches for a number of minutes. I doubt that the referee will get the identity wrong today, but the big centre for St George is in the middle of this one.
I was probably wishing he had the headgear on as well. Pretty simple start to this once again, as it generally is. Just a push out there from Bradley. Dunn didn't like the push. Bradley holds on. A few words. Well, I don't think too many did much damage.
Well, as I said, plenty of pushing and shoving, but you'd be very disappointed if you had to pay big money for a ringside seat.
Interesting to see if the penalty is awarded and which way it goes. It's going to go to the St George side. So in the referee's mind, Billy Dunn was the culprit.
Well, I find that penalty rather hard to fathom. Actually, Dunn ran away from the play of the ball and was pursued by Bradley, and yet St George came up with the penalty. I wonder who the adjudicator was on that one. Brown now across. And the 21 is Troy Stone. He plays reserve grade prop. No score in this match as Nathan Brown works with Mundine. And now Brown scampers into a gap. He's into a hole. Oh, he's got support. Mabon. Mabon is pulled down 15 metres out from the line. St George with a chance for first points. Goldthorpe holds it back and then finishes up in traffic. Penalty goes to the Saints. Very close to the uprights.
And that's good advantage played by referee Manson. The St George players on the right-hand side of the field are blowing up that the pass did not go that way from the play, the ball after the break from Brown. I thought Brown should have drawn Andrew Leeds a little bit more before passing to the support player. But he found some space out of absolutely nothing. Simple pass back inside from Mundine, wrong-footed measure, got into the clear, passed a long way before the fullback, and that allowed Leeds to take Mabon. Some good help from George Arliss. They wanted it on the right. More numbers for St George on the right. They came to the left. All the Western Suburbs players offside. The referee played advantage, then blew the whistle. Good refereeing.
So St George with first opportunity for points. First real opportunity. Paul Langmack, the Magpies captain, he's just signed another contract for a further 2 years with the club, meaning that he certainly won't be a spring chicken when he comes to the end of what has been a magnificent career with both Canterbury and Western Suburbs. 15 grand finals have been won by St George. They are the second most crowned of the clubs, South Sydney with 20. The Magpies have only won 4. And the only foundation club that has won less premierships than Wests is North Sydney. They held the spotlight of rugby league for a great period of the 60s, and Mark Bell is unable to grab that 2-point advantage. 0-0, Western St George. The consolation out of that is that it came back for the drop kick restart. He was able to get it dead. Gordon Tallis piles on the speed now as he brings play back to the halfway line.
From that first effort of Mark Bell, it's only obvious that goal kicking could be a problem for St George this afternoon. No Wayne Bartram as Donnelly straight up the middle. Very strong player. He just held.
Brown now on the right, pushing it along the line. Stone is with it. Just outside the 30-metre line. Both sides have made breaks. The support play has either been ignored or hasn't been there. Brown now comes back to the left for Goldthorpe, and then Mundine, who goes across, and Tallis was lurking out wide. That's the 20-metre line just in front of him. 5th tackle, so Goldthorpe to go to the air. Right down into the Paddington corner, and this is a tough assignment down here, but it goes over the sideline. I'm wondering who off.
I don't think it touched anyone, Ray. Everybody may have missed it. Let's have a look. And the decision is that it was touched by the St George player. A bit difficult to pick it up in shot there, but I think everybody missed. In fact, it may have just been the kicker put it out, so that's why Western Suburbs come up with the ball.
No, he indicated touched in flight. And then it looked like he was going to order the turnover, but then I think he realised that he had to adjust that ruling back to a scrum. And Western Suburbs bring it away with Jim Sedaris running into a brick wall. And oh, look at Tallis. He's strong, this boy, Gordon Tallis, and he let Jim Sedaris know it. So the Magpies back inside their 20-metre line. They were outside it, but Tallis put them back inside it. Such was the power of his defence. That's a shocking pass. That is the centre, Paul Bell. He was with Cronulla. The Bells, they formed the Cronulla centre partnership on several occasions last year. Maybon got a bad bounce. McGuinness is breathing down on him. He got away from him, but he'll go into touch. No, he threw the pass, and it's gone forward. Well, that's terrible play. Firstly, flirting with the sideline, as if that wasn't enough. There's no doubt when he did try to keep it in play, it went forward.
Can't believe a player of Rod Maybon's experience would come up with such a mistake. You were never going to beat Darren Willis on the outside, one of the quickest players in the competition.
Western Suburbs then, they win the scrum. Again, the passing is terrible. It's just inhibiting Western Suburbs in their attempts to get through St George. This is Wall, the replacement on for Paul Smith, who really only lasted one tackle in the game. Played by Mark Horrow. It goes across for Georgalis, and then they run the angle with Sedaris. Sedaris backing up from the test match on Friday night. He plays the ball. Mesha, he goes across the ground. And that's all he does, really. He's brought down by his opposite number just outside the 20-metre line. This is the last tackle as Andrew Leeds puts it in the air. It's a nice kick. They're all onside. There's a chance here, but St George have it. Donnelly now.
Very good kicker in general play, Andrew Leeds, and a good chase from West here. It actually came off the back of Bell before being cleaned up by Maybon. St George now a couple of tackles gone. As Sakuru makes a very good run. Looks up 6 or 7 metres to get outside the 30-metre mark.
Goldthorpe switching the point of the attack back to the blind side where Tallis is able to play it. He had no markers and is able to get it away. Goldthorpe now promotes it beyond the halfway line. St George have used 5 tackles. They've gone 60 metres. This is the last. And Brown rolls it inside the 20-metre line, but no real pressure for Andrew Leeds.
A poor kick there from Nathan Brown. He was just going to do that, might as well put the ball into touch. As Wall gets involved from the wing, takes it to centre field.
McGuinness now. Midway between the 20 and the halfway. And that's the nuggety frame of front rower Glenn Grief. A quick play the ball. McGuinness scoops on it, then gets a pass out the back. Langmack was there. And the Magpies on a roll at the moment. 5 tackles. They put it through the hands. Georgalis kicks. He was knocked over. The referee saw it, said play on. Now it's Maybon. He's tackled just outside the 20-metre line. Played back for Donnelly to throw a dummy. I don't know why there was nobody there to dummy to. And now he's put down Jason 30 metres out from his own line. Brown, very, very involved, Nathan Brown. That is the winger from the other side, Zisti. No markers. In fact, the tacklers fell off him completely, and he's got it back to the halfway line. Brown comes back to the blind for Gordon Tallis, and they're making a point of working to the side of the ground that Tallis is on as much as possible. This is Troy Stone. Out the back, Brown is there again. He has been involved in everything, Nathan Brown. And now from Mundine, they go over for Goldthorpe, and he rolls it, and he's looking for Mark Bell. The ball is loose, it's there, and 6 more tackles for St George. Played by McGarry. Over now for Sakuru. Gets it out the back. It's an ordinary pass, but they're able to pull it in. Played by Priddle. Over they come with their locked forward, Damien McGarry. On the 20-metre line, centre of the ground, they're running towards the Paddington end. Brown gets it in field. Bradley juggled it, and Bradley will play the ball. Goldthorpe pushes Brown aside. He goes a couple of paces. Then he uses Stone, who gets it out for Maybon. Maybon basketballs the pass down to Bell, and Bell is wrapped up over there by Darren Willis. The last tackle, and Goldthorpe with it, puts it in the air. They are onside St George. Wall goes in off his wing. He bats it down to St George's Bradley, and Bradley is put down. They've got 6 more tackles, St George. Goldthorpe, it's a penalty to St George. Don't know exactly what he was trying to do.
I can't work out what Tony Wall was trying to do when he flew in for the bomb. Seemed like he pushed the ball straight back to St George to give them another set of 6, and a play the ball infringement a ruck later should result in the first points of this game. Here's Wall coming in. He was never going to catch a football. He put his hand up, missed the tackle. Bradley got the ball back, and then Paul Langmack, never in front of the man, all over Bradley. And they take the quick tap, St George.
So St George now, with 5 tackles left, and Brown throws the dummy. He attracts the defence and is put down. 7 metres from the line. That's Rod Maybon, a dummy half, and this is Sakuru. Handled 3 times, and each time he's proven hard to pull down. Brown gets it away. It's out to Goldthorpe, and then around the back for McGarry to take the tackle. 15 out from the line.
You'd like to get Gordon Tallis one-on-one in this situation, only 10, 11 metres out. I wonder whether they'll look for him late in the tackle count. He's very wide at the moment.
He's wide to the left as they go to the right. Mundine, he got a ricochet off the Magpies. St George come back with it, but he won't nullify the tackle count, and he'll give it to Western Suburbs, the referee. Played by Sidaris. St George can't quibble about opportunity. Magpies 88 tackles to their 62. And St George have had by far the better of those opportunities I'm talking about.
Of course, they did have an opportunity to kick for goal from almost in front. I thought it was the wrong decision at the time, and the fact they didn't score in the next set of 6 proves that it was the wrong decision.
David Manson is calling both captains over, and Langmack has waved to the touch judge and said, "Go away, we don't need you." So whatever was on, it was a charge that was withdrawn, I fancy, as Leeds kicks for line. Just got a feeling there was a chance we had a biting allegation on our hands, and then whoever it was that was doing the talking was talked out of it. So Mark Horrow with a good run of about 10 metres up to the halfway line. Mesha comes out, Sidaris puts it down, it goes every which way, and it'll be a St George loose head and feed. Tim Sidaris plays second row in his club side. So this scrum is just on the St George side of halfway, as it is won by the Dragons, and Tallis, who's playing at lock forward, is away from one, and he drags another tackler along the ground. A marvellous young player, and how good he's going to be, well, your guess is as good as mine. He's got all the skills, Gordon Tallis, but on his side he's fast and he's very strong. Stone working out wide, Troy Stone. Now Sakuru. They're down backside up and not offering very much that time. Goldthorpe put his foot on the pedal and tried to get through, but Billy Dunn was there to close the gap with Steve Georgalis. And now they come to a packed blindside, and Brown puts up a left foot kick across the ground. Well, that's what he tried to do. He's come down with the ball himself. He throws it back in field, but there's been a knock on.
The St George players reacted around that decision as though the ball hadn't been gone forward. They believed it should have been play on. Let's try and pick it up. It Looked like the ball went, oh, he drank a little bit of a touch there himself, or Priddle. The right decision did result.
Progress scores at the other ground. The Roosters lead Manly by 6 points to 4. Canberra 16, the Tigers 0. Cronulla leads the Broncos 12-6.
This little lull in play brought about by caution for Brandon Pearson. And a penalty has gone to St George. Back about 22 metres out from the Western Suburbs line. A high tackle, I fancy, from Pearson has brought the penalty on delay. So Saints get another opportunity, and Big Priddle is almost through. Pulled down by Glenn Grief. Brown it is, who comes out looking for Sakuru and finding him. And there's the try line. Brown a dummy half. He gets a decoy from Stone. It goes from Goldthorpe. Bradley is with it as he angles back into the centre of the ground. Mundine, a dummy half. Looking on the blind side, but there's only 2 players there. They're marked up by 4. So they really should have the numbers on the right, St George. That's the way they went. And Stone it is to play the ball, with Brown now counting his numbers. And it's with Goldthorpe. He holds it back. Tallis offloads. McGarry tried to get through the gap. 5 tackles gone for St George, as Tallis goes from dummy half himself, and he's out of the tackle and he's over. Well, I've been talking about the strength of the man, but that was very ordinary defence by Western Suburbs. Gordon Tallis does it on his own.
Yeah, what a player, Gordon Tallis. Straight through the tackle of Cherry Mesher, pulled off Dunn, and then carried 2 players across the line. This is the last tackle, so West had done a great job holding out this long. Cherry Mesher couldn't hold on. The leg drive of Tallis is incredible. So strong, always going forward. With his size and pace, unstoppable that close to the line.
I got the impression that St George had reached the bottom of the barrel as far as opportunities, or as far as options were concerned. They were becoming frustrated at their inability to score, and they didn't have much to offer by way of variety. And I think that went through Tallis's mind to the point that he said, well, I might as well try and do it myself. He's come up with a 4-pointer.
You'd think a 6-pointer, but I'm not going to say that with Mark Bell kicking. We'll put this one straight through the middle, but he is a bit hit and miss.
"15 metres out. Kicking into the Bradman stand, and he gets this one sweetly. So they convert the try and lead 6 points to 0 now.
At Brookvale, the Roosters 12, lead Manly 4.
Justin Dooley has gone on for the Magpies, taking the place of Mark Horrow. We come back for the next chapter of play. Half-time not too far away, with St George inside their own 20-metre line, with Damien McGarry making many more metres than I thought he would. West defence hasn't been stopping the man with the ball as effectively as Tom Raudonikis would like. Tallis left another hole in the defence, and now Priddle does the same. Sakuru is pulled down by Tony Wall. Brown flirts with a narrow corridor on the blind side. And now Nathan Brown plays it. St George have made great ground. This is the 5th tackle. Quick passing, the little men handle. Maybon rolls it down to Andrew Leeds. Leeds has tackled 23 metres out from his own line.
It was a very good set of 6 from St George. They loved the blind side, the short side of the ruck. At times they've overused it in the past, but this afternoon been very selective. That player was offside. Troy Stone should never have tried to take Sedaris, who was smart enough to see that he was offside and ran straight at him. Drew a good penalty.
Canberra 16, Balmain 0.
So Andrew leads. Kicking for touch on the O'Reilly stand side of the ground. And this is Justin Dooley. Able to get the ball away. That's a good effort. And this is Mesha now, inside the 20-metre line. The Magpie fans calling for points with Grief tackled 11 metres out from the line. To the right for Langmack and then back for Georgalis, who runs an angle. Leeds comes in supporting. He'll get there, will he? Andrew Leeds is over, but I doubt whether he's got it down. Held up.
Oh, great tackle there. You could see Leeds was just about to propel himself across. That last effort was going to take him over, and the St George player from the far side was able to get there in time. Good, strong, burrowing run here from Leeds, and it's Gordon Tallis who stopped him and turned him over. Stopped the ball being put down as West win the scrum.
A rule that I'm not totally in favour of. It seems to penalise the defensive team. Langmack gets it back. Pearson! He's over, but it's a double movement. Well, Manson was right on top of it. And they can boo all they like. There is one thing about this, the referee was perfectly sighted, well, and there is no doubt that he's right.
No, his elbow went down twice, the arm carrying the football. It was the third time the elbow went down that the ball was put over the line. So they won't go any closer, and that Leeds looked like scoring. Great work from Langmack to put Pearson close, but St George hang on.
So Tony Priddle away from Brown and then for Maybon, and again there's a scuffle up in back play. Priddle and Langmack getting involved. Saints go on with the football. Donnelly breaks into space. There's a try coming if they've got the speed. Mundine's away. Mundine, oh, he does it easily. He canters over. Mundine scores after Donnelly had busted them wide open.
And it was against St George on the blind side, the short side. Only the two customers there, but one of the West players was slow in coming back, and he got stood up and beaten. I think it was Tony Wall. Donnelly, a good ball to Mundine. Did he have the pace? He was only up against Jim Sedaris, who did a good job to be back there, but he was never going to get close to Mundine. And St George, no, it wasn't Tony Wall. I apologise to him. There's another Western Suburbs player, it may have been Bell, I think, that didn't get back. Donnelly, a strong runner, didn't need his strength, just his speed that time. And Mundine, a little goose step at the end. Bit of play acting, the second try for St George this afternoon.
Tony Mundine gets the try, which really was laid on by Graham Bradley. He didn't get the plaudits that I should have been giving him, but Donnelly was the man that busted them, but he owes it to Bradley's timing. The big man took them on and drew them, and he was the man that provided the gap for Donnelly. Mark Belly seems to make a real chore of this. This is like filing your taxation return.
What old Trav?
Oh, I'll bet you evens. Here's Bell. Strikes it. Oh, no problems this time. He's got it straight. St George 12-0 at the cricket ground. Quick way of doubling your money. Quick way to go broke. You're a fool, Rabs. An absolute fool. So the Magpies get us going again. And Maybon comes out 28 metres from his own line.
That's a big head start, isn't it? 28 metres out from your own line from the kickoff.
Strangely enough, I was about to make the point prior to the Mundine try, Peter, that on the limited opportunities West had had, they'd probably been more dangerous than St George. This is beautiful passing. Now Donnelly, 30 metres out from the line. A cross from Bradley into the arms of Goldthorpe and then Mundine. Mundine, I thought the referee's arm was going up for a Shepherd there. A drop goal attempt by Goldthorpe will go over the dead ball line and back to the 20 for the restart.
The Roosters 15, Manly 4.
12-0. In the background is a flash score coming through on the Roosters Manly game, with the Roosters leading them. Mesha taking the tap. Billy Dunn 25 metres out from his own line. This is Dooley. He's been with the club for quite a while now. Dooley, probably 4 years. And when he has played in the top grade, he's played very well. McGuinness now inside for Willis. Willis for Langmack. And he's been crunched into the ground by Tallis.
Good work from Western Suburbs. McGuinness showing his speed once again to get outside Mark Bell as Sakuru takes the ball 42 out. Tremendous speed. The ball back inside Willis. Another quick man. Langmack got smashed from Tallis, who saved 2 tries now.
He's having an absolute blinder, Gordon Tallis. Here he is, basically in the second play after he had brought down Paul Langmack, taking it out for St George. Brown tried to get a pass off. Bell it is for the Magpies. 35 metres out from their own line. Western Suburbs have not got the best run into the semi-finals. Dearly love to win this one today. That came off a St George player. It is play on now. It would have been play on had the Magpies got the ball.
And Colin Sakuru's come up with one of the biggest plays of the afternoon so far. He was the man that doubled around and came up with the tackle on the far side after some good work by Western Suburbs to spread the football. Big man had no right to be there, but it was an important tackle made.
Bradley is creating problems for Western Suburbs. Mundine, 20-metre line underneath him. West end of the park.
Field goal again. It's a good ploy, but there's pressure on Goldthorpe.
That pass was forward, surely, and it's a penalty.
Troy Stone doesn't have too many drop kicks in his game. Good pressure here. Jim Sedaris knew that Goldthorpe would have a go. Troy Stone hit the sideline.
The siren in the background brings down the curtain on the first half as Andrew Leeds takes the penalty, and he fails to find touch. So the tackle is made on Nick Zisti, and that's the end of the first half. 12 points to 0, 2 tries to St George. In front of this Sydney Cricket Ground audience that is not too bad on a beautiful afternoon in Sydney. We'll break and be back with the second half of the action in just a little while.
Congratulations to the person holding the winner's ticket number 06890. I repeat, 06890. Please claim your Western Suburbs representative at the rear.
Welcome back to the Sydney Cricket Ground. Playing host today to this commemorative match between Western Suburbs and St George. St George leading 12-0 at the break. Game brought back here, as I said, as a commemoration of the grand finals played between these two great clubs in the latter 50s and the early 60s.
And an abundance of football for St George in the first half. There you see how many times they had the ball. St George out of 17 went through to the sixth tackle 14 times, only 5 for Western Suburbs. And if you can control the football that well, you will not get beaten. St George will be looking for a similar second half to what they were able to do with the football in their hands that first stanza.
So this kick from St George finding the line about 12 metres away. Hard to judge the crowd that is here today, but I think the promoters will be quite happy with it. The Magpies 12 metres out from their own line. Early seconds of the second half, and Andrew Leeds is put away 15 metres out from his own uprights, and Justin Dooley remains on for the Magpies. He was named in the run on side, but his place eventually was taken by Bill Dunn. And Georgialis it is now. I fancy that Tom Radonicus at half-time would be telling his players that this match is very much there to be won. They had limited opportunities, and I thought they worried St George on the scant amount of times that they had a chance to really put pressure on them. 12-0 indicates that they're getting soundly beaten, but I'm sure Tom Radonicus would have found some hope, some confidence in his half-time delivery as Donnelly plays it now 30 metres out from his own goal line, and this is Mark Bell, the centre. Mundine and Gordon Tallis, the try scorers for St George. Gordon Tallis has really saved 2 other tries, so this is him with the ball now. His value to St George, if you measured it in points, is somewhere around maybe 18 for the match already. This is Bradley, who leads the Dragons today in front of all of the champions from both clubs. The St George club, they're all here today. The great names, Raper, Gasnier, Smith, Proven, they're all there. As Leeds gets underneath this kick and Mundine puts them all onside. You won't find too many safer nor better fullbacks than Andrew Leeds.
No doubt about that. And I still think that St George should be looking at the field goal option. They were thinking that in the first half. They'll get more time early in this second half to kick the football. The longer the game goes, the more pressure the kicker will be under. And psychologically, a big thing to make your opponent score 3 times a mistake by Wests in their own territory.
Well, this is something that the Magpies have not got to do, and that is forcing the ball in their own territory. There's a mile of time on the clock. 12-0 is not impossible, so there's no need for stupid things. Push the pass up the other end of the park, but not up this end. Saints come up with it now in good field position, and Big Bradley is met there by the half, Georgialis, and also Leeds. So there's no fullback. I'm just wondering if somebody has read that. And now Tallis, 12 metres away from the Western Suburbs line. Brown on for Goldthorpe, and he rolls it in behind them. He leads the race. Oh, it all happened so quickly. It hit the uprights, bounced back, he got the ball, and he puts it down. There was no sweeper, there was nothing. And Noel Goldthorpe scores against his old club.
Yeah, great vision here from the halfback. As you can see there, nobody in behind. Leeds was a mile away. Sedaris was the only person who read it, but the bounce was a sweet one in 2 ways for Noel Goldthorpe. Firstly, it hit the post, and secondly, it came straight back into his hands. Straight through, nobody at home, and he didn't panic at all. Great start to the second half.
Go and buy a lottery ticket, Noel. That is uncanny. Well, St George, another try.
We go back to the mistake made by Western Suburbs in their own territory, trying to force the pass. Only 25 metres out from their own line. Sedaris was ruled to have knocked on. Paul Langmack laying the law down to his players that to get back into this game, they've got to do everything right from now on, and that's play good field position and not hand the football over to the opposition in their own danger zone.
Goldthorpe, another of the players from the Magpies who joined that exodus. Mark Bell now shoots for 3 out of 4, and from right in front, he's not having too much bother. 18-0. The Dragons over the Magpies. This is how it happened. No sweeper. Sedaris got there too late, but it wouldn't have mattered who got there. Goldthorpe was meant to score. Andrew Leeds with the restart. Now, that scoreline does represent a problem. I was saying before the try that it really wasn't a massive problem, being down 12-0, but 18-0. Now I suppose you've got to think about squeezing the pass, the one that you probably normally would not. And I wonder, would St George be now thinking about 1 point, Peter?
Oh, for sure. It's been in Goldthorpe's mind for a while as Priddle runs to the line, nearly steps through. The thing is, there is plenty of time left in this game, so Western Suburbs aren't at panic stations yet. They've got to get their points on the board fairly early on in this second half now. They've got to score shortly. Bradley, who's caused all sorts of problems this afternoon, makes a good charge. Ball eventually finds its way to Donnelly, who throws the pass back inside. Mistake made. It's Kurt Wrigley on in 17 for St George.
The Magpies using their fullback to come away, and it's a good contribution by Andrew Leeds as Glenn Grief tries to promote it even further. They're inside the 40-metre line, their own end of the ground. The Magpies, as it comes through from the halfback out to Dooley. And Dooley, who's responsible really for giving the ball back to St George for that try to be scored. Here's Billy Dunn with a good fend, and now he surges across the halfway line. Mesher, a dummy half. Leeds at first receiver, then Langmack, and then Leeds offered the decoy. They come across the back, and Dooley took it on the bounce, and he has the ball wedged against him by Troy Stone. The last tackle, and Sedaris runs, puts in the kick, and it comes down for Maybon. He escapes 2 and takes play back to the halfway line. Good rapid fire action here at the cricket ground in the opening minutes of the second half. As Donnelly, who's had a few highs and lows in his career. Jason Donnelly, some injury didn't help him, but he's a fine winger and he's very strong.
He's had a lot of injuries, especially around the ankle region. I think he may have missed one of St George's grand finals against Brisbane through sustaining an ankle injury in the semi-final run. George now, here's Brown looking for the field goal. A left foot attempt will be short. Leeds under the post, no problems. Beats Tallis. Taken by Wrigley, and McGarry comes in to help.
No matter what the result here today, one only has to stop and think of the number of Dragons that aren't out there today. Faces that have become permanent fixtures. Barnhill for one, Goulet for another.
Jason Stevens, Mark Coyne.
Yeah, well, there you go. There's a lot of Jeff Hardy. I don't know where Jeff is today.
Well, he was named on the bench for this game, so an injury at some stages.
Walford, Bartram.
Pearson forced backwards there. Yeah, there's plenty missing. So this will be a big win for them. An enormous boost to their chances for a semi-final berth.
That's play on there. That's off the rump, if you like. The rising ball. It's a charge down. 6 more tackles for the Magpies. It's worth explaining that. Priddle went up as a charge down. It is not a knock on, even though it came off his backside. Even had it came off his arms and hands, it's still not a knock on if the ball is rising off the boot. It's a very important rule in rugby league that sometimes gets misconstrued. So Mesher goes back for Leeds to kick down the ground. The Magpies had all left to go down the field quite a bit earlier, and the diminutive fullback Rod Maybon plays it for Donnelly to come in off his left wing, run away from Sedaris and try and circle two other defenders. He doesn't do that, but he's tackled on the halfway line.
Positional play of Rod Mabon in this game has been outstanding as well. He knows that Sedaris likes to put the little kick through for himself. He's been there when that's happened. Andrew Leeds, generally a good kicker into field, into open play. Mabon has been there to catch the ball on the full on most occasions, so he's reading things very nicely at the back.
Here's Bradley again, chiming in with Brown and then Tallis. Oh, that's a magic pass! Mark Bell, he'll score! And I'll tell you something, after the pass of Gordon Tallis, he deserved to score. That is fantastic.
Is there nothing Gordon Tallis cannot do on a football field? Good lead up here again. Bradley coming close. He's having a super game. Brown, a timely pass. It looked as though play would break down here. Done over the top, couldn't control the ball. And Mark Bell, who came infield sniffing around to see if he could pick something up, did exactly that to score the fourth try for St George and should wrap this game up. Look at this for a pass. Two-handed offload. Again, strength to do that. And Mark Bell, a prolific try scorer, gets another one.
Well, that is just sensational. You know, you get an opportunity to watch some of the fine performances in rugby league, and you probably rate a bloke as having an 8 or a 9 out of 10, and very seldom do you think about a 10 out of 10. But Gordon Tallis must be very close to having the perfect game today. This is Wrigley.
Well, if Tallis is close to having a 10 out of 10, the likes of Graham Bradley, Nathan Brown and Rod Mabon are 8 and 9s. So when they're all going that well, it's a good sign for the team.
So as Kurt Wrigley lines up the conversion attempt, I noticed that Jason Alchin is on for Western Suburbs. I should think so. Like a Christmas turkey. Feet in the air. Wrigley to convert. Gets it sweetly. And so Kurt Wrigley enlarges that scoreline. 24-0. Saints over Wests. Tallis the Terminator. He's doing all that. Watch him. He just about exterminates the Magpies right there.
And West came up in a staggered line. That made it easier for those passes to be strung together.
So Jason Alchin on for the Magpies. Just wondering what reshuffle they've undergone here. West with Alchin on.
The Western Suburbs glider. 28, Jason Alchin. Proudly sponsored by S&W Southwest Glass of Lamia. He replaces Paul Bell, number 3.
The back line has simply pushed out one, with Alchin playing at half back. The try scorer, Mark Bell. Now that is Zisty.
Uses his players very cleverly, Brian Smith. As Gordon Tallis there. You'll see in defensive scrums, Tallis fits into the second row and McGarry plays at lock. But when they're feeding the ball in attacking situations, Tallis goes to lock. That enables him at times to pick the ball up and scoot out of there and cause all sorts of problems in that area as well. A nice ploy at the back of the scrum by the Saints.
Talking of Tallis, here he is again. On the halfway line, Jason Alchin around the legs. And now Brown works on the blind side and kicks ahead. I thought for a second Mark Bell was going to come up with clean ball. Ball has now been ruled as being knocked on. And a scrum, or turnover it is. Horrow is back on for the Magpies. gives them a quick play of the ball. Mesha runs straight at a player that was offside. Now somebody has mouthed off, and Manson has called him out. It is the hooker, Mesha. Siriaco is his name. Somehow or other we got it abbreviated to Cherry. David Manson said to Siriaco, Mesha, I don't need encouragement. What more do you want? I've given you the penalty. Now keep your mouth shut. I've got to compliment Manson on something he has done twice in this game, and he's done it a fair bit this season. He's penalised for the deliberate forward pass. And now a little knock on. Scrum to go down. It looked like he got a bit of help. The scrum fed by the Dragons, and Goldthorpe and Tallis put together a play that Peter was talking about. That's why Tallis packs in to lock when St George are in attack. Now a lot of passing, and the mistake has been made.
Well, it's 6 again here. Came off the Western Suburbs player, and it's just as well that tackle was made, because if Mark Bell could have slipped the short ball, St George were away again.
And a penalty goes to the Saints now. And the frustration is coming through from the Magpies. And Kurt Wrigley will find the line. He looks like he's a very smart kicker of the ball. A tap to be taken by Goldthorpe, and Priddle, who's been strong today. He mixes his form a bit, Tony Priddle, but he's been very strong today. Brown forever involved, and look at him. 25 metres out from the Western Suburbs line. McGarry this is. Damian McGarry, I fancy that he was with Balmain, and I fancy with Western Suburbs as well. This is Bradley. Now Brown. Bradley again causing a problem. He's so big and strong. A chance here. Goldthorpe. And felled by a neat tackle right around the bootlaces by Georgalis. Here's Tallis. He puts the kick in. It's been fielded by Willis. And then an appeal from Gordon Tallis for a knock on. This is McGuinness. 24-0. Great stadium, this, the Sydney Cricket Ground. It's a magnificent place to be at, just watching any sport. As Mark Horrow makes a break, a clean break. And who do you think rounds him up? You tell him, Pete.
He's got the right initials, GT. He's just a flying machine. Good inside pass to Dooley here. He's got support on his outside. Might go all the way himself. Sedaris is able to get it back in. Georgalis gets his pass away, and played now by Langmack. This might be a professional foul. Yes. It is. 10 minutes.
10 minutes in the bin for Anthony Mundine, I do believe.
Good chance here for Western Suburbs. They've got to take the tap. The 2 points. It's no good for them. It's not Mundine that's going. It looks like McGarry. He was the man that went into mark and knocked the ball out of the man playing. About to play it. And the tap taken by West. They must score now.
This is Jason Alchin. Playing in number 7 position, which he filled capably with Canterbury. And has played a lot of half with West, but mainly at hooker. And here he is again with the football now. They go across for Georgalis and Leeds. They've got the numbers, but McGuinness is tackled 10 metres out. Back to the open side. Mesha looks for the line, gets it away, and then it comes out for Glenn Grief to be tackled. He's 2 metres out from the line. The Magpies, they're over this time thanks to Georgalis. A little dummy out from dummy half. and the markers went to sleep.
It's a pretty big dummy, really. Graham Bradley fell for it, hook, line and sinker. Only the one marker that close to the line. Maybon couldn't get to him because the man who played the football was in between him and the scorer. Steve Georgalis made it look very simple. Overreading of the situation. Marker must wait to see if the ball is thrown. Bradley didn't do so.
So Steve Georgalis gets his 17th career try. Manages to get Western Suburbs on the board. 24-4. Andrew Leeds taking his first shot at goal for the day. Right on line. A very good marksman in the game. 24-6. Saints over Wests.
If Western Suburbs can capitalise on a 12-man line-up for the Dragons, they'll be able to put some points on quickly here. That was Dooley getting away. Tremendous tackle from Maybon. The pass back inside to Sidaris. Georgalis was there in support. Now this is the play that resulted in the sin-binning offence. There's the number 13, Damien McGarry, professional foul. The referee dispatched him fairly quickly.
24-6. And the deep kick-off or restart by St George. And it finds Horrow able to get it back to the 20-metre line. Against 12 men, the Magpies, I was about to say, if they can take full advantage of it, can get back into the game, but not like that they won't.
And apart from handing over possession of the opposition, throwing it over the sideline just wastes time as well. They've got to keep the ball in play as much as possible if they are to take advantage of this shortened St George line.
The Saints, Talla standing out wide, and Wrigley is brought down about 15 metres out from the line. They keep it alive and they go across for Nathan Brown to be taken down by Paul Langmack. 5 metres out from the line, across now into the hands of Mundine and Goldthorpe, and then he is able to fend away and tries to get it off. And Manson said play on.
He just dumping to the touch judge as well for good measure. Good run from Goldthorpe. Big line to the left for St George with Mundine at first receiver. Bradley moving in second.
Bad pass for Mundine, but he was able to rake it down and hand it off for Graham Bradley. The Saints with a big lead and looking to expand even further. Mark Bell across, Nathan Brown on, Priddle is with it, and he's pulled down to the ground by Mark Horrow. 5 tackles gone, and Brown back for a drop goal attempt, and I think that might be okay. It is off the boot of Mundine.
Yes, I think you'll find it was Mark Bell that actually slotted in there. It was a very good play from the dummy half, Nathan Brown, running this side, attracting the markers. They got out quickly, and then Mark Bell hit it pretty sweetly, straight between the posts, and that extends the lead again to a 19-point margin. Opposition have to score 4 times again.
So 25-6. An unusual scoreline. Leeds recommences. And this big man that has been an awful thorn in the side of the black and whites, Graham Bradley, leading his side with honour today. I'm sure it would be an honour to captain the great St George club in front of so many past idols, heroes. Gordon Tallis would have to be impressing those people that I referred to. They must be looking down on him and suggesting the sky is the limit.
Well, finally the knock-on has been ruled. It was a pretty long advantage, and there didn't seem to be any forthcoming to Western Suburbs, or any chance of there being. Just the Like a simple knock on here. Pressure put on Troy Stone.
Stone leaving the park. And the Magpies coming up with it, with Langmack and Leeds combining, and had that ball stuck. Had it stuck for Brandon Pearson, there was an opportunity for Wests. Nothing is going right for them. So the scrum will pack after Manson talks to both captains again. This day in stark contrast to the day that these clubs played the grand final in 1963. It was an absolute quagmire, and reports say that the players were sinking up to 8 inches into the soil of the cricket ground. McGuinness, we haven't seen a lot of Ken McGuinness today, as Mark Horrow crosses the halfway line.
He looked very threatening early, McGuinness, with the mistakes Western Suburbs have made. He hasn't been able to feature too prominently as Langmack throws the ball to Sedaris. Good ball to Leeds, who throws it over the top back to Langmack. A lot of passing, but not much progress.
Sedaris is away from a tackle, and this is Dooley. He's made a couple of big runs like this. Here's another. Can he make it? No, he can't. 7 metres out from the line, pulled down by Zisti. A chance, though, for West. Alchin goes wide. Langmack is snuffed out, not held. Now Leeds heads off for the corner. Pearson is pulled down.
Yeah, good advantage again played by Manson. Goldthorpe a mile offside. West will take the quick tap with Mesha getting the football. Referee slows it down. Remember, they're up against 12 men, so they should score as Alchin juggles the football.
Try line 5 metres in front of them. Mesha now through from Grief onto Langmack, and he holds it back for Leeds. Leeds goes into a gap, and he gives it over the top for Darren Willis, and the Magpies are in again.
Excellent execution there by the Magpies. Decoy runners going through. The pass was a good one to Andrew Leeds, who only had the simple task of drawing and passing. Not that simple, the pass, I suppose. He had to go over the top. But good work here. Jim Sedaris, how much pace has this big man got? Dooley. Mundine couldn't keep up, fell off the tackle. Finally, Zisti came up with the try saver. And then a couple of rucks later here, a well-executed move. Langmack letting McGuinness go through. He attracted some people. And Leeds, the ball over the top to Willis, who improves the position.
Willis completing that try, his 35th. As Andrew Leeds attempts the conversion, and no real problems. Leeds brings the Magpies back to 25-12 down. Damien McGarry coming out of the sin bin.
Conversion successful by
Shadows lengthening across the cricket ground.
To George 25,
adjacent to the league headquarters, the football stadium. As St George start once more off the boot of Kurt Wrigley, and it is Mark Horrow nominated to go back 15 metres out from his own line.
The Gold Star Magpies are pleased to announce today's attendance, ladies and gentlemen, 18,368.
Georgialis. He's been good for Western Suburbs. I'm not talking about just about today. I'm talking about the span of time he's been with the Magpies. Steve Georgialis.
Well, I think they've struggled over the last couple of seasons since Noel Goldthorpe left, actually. Well, went to the St George club in the half of the 5/8 role, and it's taken a while for Georgialis to make it his own. As a mistake made by St George there. Player offside will result in a penalty to the Black and Whites. Tallis losing the ball. Went forward to a St George player. Georgialis always busy.
So West, this penalty advantage. And Mark Horrow gets it to almost the 20-metre line. 9-7 the penalties in favour of the team that is trailing. An opportunity here. I doubt there's enough time left anyway, but certainly if they could get over the line and convert, it would make things quite interesting. As Alchin figures twice and Pearson puts it down. Wrigley is with it for Saints and plays it 10 metres out from the line. This is Mabon, the fullback.
Oh, he's been hurt in that tackle, Mabon. Looked like he fell fairly awkwardly. That was the last throw of the dice for Western Suburbs. Pearson could have... He did well to take this pass from Alchin, but then in his motion to pass the ball himself, the ball came loose. Mabon still down receiving attention for what looks like an ankle injury.
Sakuro. Of course, we're watching here today what will be the last, I guess, the last encounter between St George and Western Suburbs, unless there is a complete turnabout and the merger does not occur. Foundation clubs and some magnificent memories, I guess, for many, many people as they think back on the history of both. It would seem ironic or unfair, really, though, that the club of the two that is to disappear off our lips, not our memories, would be St George, the great St George. A word that is used far too often and too loosely, but it certainly applies to the St George club.
Oh.
Intercept almost taken by Mark Bell. One of the Magpies is down injured as a result of the body contact. It is Georgialis. He's okay now, though. Willis is put away. 25 out from his own line. Advanced Bank, they give us $1,000 each Sunday for the man of the match. Peter will make that decision shortly, but
Made it a while ago, right?
I was just going to say, I don't want to give you a push, but I would have thought Gordon Tallis could probably spend $999 of it.
Well, he might be the sort of bloke who'll put it on the bar for his players as Andrew Leeds throws the pass that you only throw when you're chasing a heap of points. Tallis has been the outstanding performer this afternoon in a side that has played pretty well overall. And again, I stress the importance of the likes of Mabon, Goldthorpe, Bradley. Tony Priddle's played very well also. And the hooker, Nathan Brown, has been a standout.
The Magpies captain comes across and hands it off. And McGuinness had to go back and recover. And Tallis picks him off. Well, I said it earlier, but I have to say it again. This has been an intensely put together game for Gordon Tallis, and really so close to the perfect score in my rating.
There he is driving again, and I don't know if he's playing that much different to what we saw early in the season, but this is the bloke who couldn't make the starting lineup.
Yeah, this is the super sub. This is the super sub, Gordon Tallis. But here's a penalty going to the Magpies. This has been simply an honour to be here and watch him play today.
Well, he played a match a couple of weeks ago where he was only on for came off with 25 minutes to go and still won the man of the match then. So his last couple of weeks have been something special as Sadara spins out of a tackle, goes across field, goes straight through, and Maybon.
Alchin a dummy half, the Magpies waving out on the right of the ground, leads. Again over the line and held up. So it'll be another scrum that West will have the feed and the loose head.
And if Andrew Leeds passed the football, they score. There was a gap on the outside. He took on Noel Goldthorpe. If he could have got the ball to his outside support player, he'd have scored.
Well by McGarry. 24 for St George. Getting a taste of the action.
So it's Brad Smith going on for the Saints. Graham Bradley getting the early mark. Press through the scrum. 10 out.
18,000 people here today. Langmack breaking from the scrum uses the right winger. They're over in the Paddington Hill corner as they come across for Georgialis. And out from dummy half, Paul Bell. Sakuro and Wrigley making the tackle. Mesha, Alchin, well-directed pass, but everywhere there's a black and white jumper, there are two red and white jumpers to combat that. Langmack back inside, and the loose ball comes up with McGarry. So try as they may, things are not going right for the Magpies. They have tended to turn the ball back inside a lot in this match today. I'm just wondering whether it might have been better to let it just slide along that back line where McGuinness is out wider.
I think they tend to come back inside, Ray, when you're not controlling the football, and that's been their biggest enemy in this match. Really no flow in possession for them. They tried to keep it tight by turning it back inside, but even that has failed because they continue to drop the ball.
Just on that crowd, 18,368. That's a very good crowd in this current climate. It's a very good crowd. 15 for St George. Is that Ian Heron? Yeah, Chook Heron going on. There's the Magpies. With just a couple of minutes left on the clock. 25 out from their own line. Trailing 25-12. And again, Steve Georgialis working busily. Darren Willis, though, not going anywhere. Sadaris on a runaround mission with Langmack, and then they try to put Billy Dunn through the gap. Sadaris again rolling it along for McGuinness. He's hoping for McGuinness, but he picks up Ian Heron for St George. Now Tallis bumps away from one, but is eventually down under the tackle of Bill Dunn right on the halfway line. Maybon through from Brown, just a short handoff there to
Smith. Gets up into Brad Smith.
Brad Smith for St George.
Last tackle now, they come to blind again. And doing into the in-goal area. Andrew Leach hoping it'll go over the dead ball line. It's touched him first. Yes, it is. It has touched him first. The in-goal judge says it's a line dropout. Bad bounce at the end, took him by surprise.
Well, this is very unfortunate. I'm going to tell you what happened here. Andrew Leeds had his own performance inhibited by the presence of the in-goal judge. Look at the in-goal judge standing there. Now, if he's inside the line, we'll all turn it up.
The in-goal judge.
He got in the road, to put it more bluntly. Langmack's blowing up, and he's entitled to. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's 25 to 12. But Angus is mouthing off. I don't blame him. So they're going to go for a drop goal, and they've given it to Gordon Tallis. I wish they hadn't have, because it's the only blemish on his game. The last seconds of the match. Siren in the background. Oh, and Tallis picks him off. Tony Wall. Another bone-crushing tackle. So the man of the match is Gordon Tallis. This tremendous talent from St George. $1,000 from Advance Bank. And they go through the process of swapping jumpers because, as I said, this will be the last clash of the red and whites against the black and whites. So the scoreline, 25 to 12. A very big win for St George. Must have had more than half a side watching from the grandstands, and they were still able to win it. Tallis, Mundine, Goldthorpe and Bell. Tallis, an enormous game, and that was just another typical example of what he did. A field goal was kicked by Mark Bell, and Georgialis and Willis scored the Western Suburbs tries. So that takes us away from here at the Sydney Cricket Ground, an afternoon that has had just about had it all. Not necessarily the best rugby league game we've ever seen, but 18,300 odd came to see it at this majestic old ground. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll do it again with you next weekend. Thank you for your company. Goodbye for now.